Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with Emmett Muckles. Today is the day that you got up. Today was the day that you absorbed light. Today is the day that you began again. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow is not here. It is time to be in the now, but you can plan for tomorrow because you are a magician. Why do I say that? You can predict the future because if you think it, you can make it happen. Today, my guest on the show, we're going to talk about stress, and we're going to talk about melodies, and we're going to talk about the auditory relaxation method. That's a little convoluted coming from me, but you'll get it shortly here. And today, my guest is Tim Ringgold. What's up, Tim?
Thanks for having me, Emmett. It's great to be here.
So, you know, you're rocking the hole in the afro like I am.
That's it. That
Mach 3 or Shaper's Club.
Yeah, I was going to say mine. What do you reach for when you shave that dome of yours? I'm a Dollar Shave Club member myself, but 2 hands.
Oh wow.
Yeah, one in each hand. At half the time, brother. Half the time. Time.
I got bumpy head, dude. Bumpy head. You know, I got hit like bad roads through the Midwest. So I have to take my time and make sure those potholes are kind of filled. But, you know, you do a lot of things. You know, you're a keynote speaker, you have podcasts, you produce music, you help people out, you coach them. You do a lot of things, and I know music is your passion, but what got you into these other things? What brought you to now? And your main focus is helping people with stress. How did you tie those two together?
Yeah, man. Listen, I started out like most people, getting turned on to music as a kid, loving it. You know, I sang my first solo when I was 4 in kindergarten, so I became a musician practically right out of the gate. And then discovered classic rock in high school, you know, just loving music as a performer, sang for the Pope when I was 16 in St. Peter's Square as a soloist, just thinking like music is the best. But man, it wasn't until the lowest point of my life that music really showed itself to me, like revealed itself to me. So It's April 18th, 1995. I am at a concert, shouting my head off to some live music. And just a few miles away, my 5 best friends were just murdered.
What? Together?
Together. Yeah. Executed by their landlord over a tenant-landlord dispute.
Whoa.
Yep.
How old were you at the time again?
22.
Yeah, man. That's your peer group gone.
That's my crew. So there were 8 of us that rolled together as a big group, and then there were 4 of us. We called it the core 4, and so I lost 5 of the 8 in one night. And I lived in a small town, man. I lived in a little town in Connecticut. You know, 2 blinking lights. This stuff doesn't happen there. And I went to 5 funerals in 4 days. So I would just get up, bury a friend, get as hammered as possible, pass out, and then wake up and have to do it all over again the next day. And on one of the days, twice. And it was just like Groundhog's Day in hell.
But, you know, I can identify with that because of who I am and where I come from. You know, in certain circles that I have affiliation with, that was quite normal. And it still is today. So it's... For me, I understand that trauma that you could experience, especially as a young man, if you've never seen it before, you know. And I know that there are some people who go through that trauma, don't get to grieve, don't get to process, but it becomes their norm. So for those who find themselves stressed out, not knowing how to grieve or how did you come out of that? How did you say, music is my thing? You know, music was your thing, but how did you feel like this can heal me?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because I had lived a pretty charmed life up until that point. So like I had like no adversity muscles or anything. I just was like blindsided. And, you know, I sang a song to say goodbye to my friends at their funerals, and my community healed, like hugging me, embracing me for how healing it was for them. But it tore me up to do.
Right.
But the night of the last funeral, one of my 2 remaining friends says, "You want to go see some more live music?" And I'm like, "Yes, please." So we go to a show. And for the first 2 hours since I got the news, I was at peace. And like no amount of drugs, alcohol, porn, food had none of it had numbed that pain all week. And I stacked them all, trying, you know, just something to make me numb.
Say porn, I like that one.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's
gotta call it out.
The man's go-to.
Let's be honest, that was my kryptonite of all things. So like, nothing worked. And, but the music did. The music did. It was the first thing that brought me peace. And at the end of the show, it was a famous guitarist named Steve Morse, and he's an instrumental guitarist. And I walked up and I was like, "Bro, I've been in hell for a week because my friends were just murdered. You're the first person that brought me out." And so I put my hand on his chest to say thank you. And tears popped out of the guy's eyes.
Wow.
And I had this like moment where it was like, this is what my community felt when I played for them. And right there, man, I was like, that's it. This is the purpose of my life. And so I've just dedicated my life to helping others reach for music in their toughest times.
All right. I want to kind of diverge here. So let me ask you this first. What instruments do you play besides your voice?
Yeah. Well, you know, voice, guitar, I'd say I'm a guitarist today. If you ask me what I am, I'd say I'm a guitarist. But I also play like, you know, Native American flute, play percussion, play some drums.
All right. Now, the reason I bring this up is because playing music, playing an instrument is therapeutic. It also rewires your brain, and it makes you think in a different modality. You'll understand that word, modality.
Yes, very good, yes.
But the culture of today, they don't necessarily have those role models that will point them to an instrument. The only place I see it is church.
Mm-hmm.
And also, there's a study that I recently saw, and I can't recall the actual article or thing, that says the music of today is different than the more acoustic music of the past. And that if you're over the age of like 45, you find new music horrible. It's hard to listen to because of the compression and all this. So, and I know this is a deep question. So does that play into anything that you do, like old music versus new music, or old sounds versus new sounds?
That's a really good question. You know, people ask me a lot of questions about music, like preference, music types, like what's the right type, because, you know, my area is stress. So people will ask like, what's the right type of music to listen to relieve stress? And people like, they want to believe in their head that there are like good and bad genres of music.
Yeah.
And what the research shows for stress management and pain management specifically, it's very much like flavor. So it's very subjective. The music that you enjoy, like, is the music to listen to, because it actually triggers a pleasure response in your brain when you're listening to it. If it's music you don't like, it actually produces a stress response. It's an opposite effect. So, you know, it's like nails on a chalkboard. So, like, I don't care if you like Celine Dion, don't bring that near me. Like, I'm going to be like jumping, you know, out will be done. And my joke is that's why God invented headphones, because we can all, you know, prescribe ourselves the music we need. And if you think about it, like a playlist, and before that, a blank CD, and before that, the mixtape.
You're right.
Right? That we were all prescribing ourselves music for a very specific reason for us in the moment. It wasn't always just greatest hits from that artist.
Right.
So it's very subjective. It's very personal. And every generation pisses on the generation after its music. That's constant. Right? So
I believe that
Elvis is pelvis, right? Like everybody, oh my God, Elvis, right? And it's no different. So the music you identify when you're like 14 to 24, that's your music. It's not written for anybody else, and it definitely wasn't written for your parents.
Yeah. I recently started going back. I went through the Ken Burns jazz documentary, or I'm going through it. And because my jazz that I listened to was fusion. So I listened to, this is the stuff that I was doing in high school. I was doing a lot of Chick Corea, Billy Cobham, stuff like that.
Nice.
And plus and Parliament Funkadelic, and then Prince came on the scene. So I had this wide diaspora of sounds. But the fusion came from jazz. So I started looking at some of the older stuff, and then I got into blues. And I always thought there was just jazz. I didn't realize it was the same thing. Like there was Dixieland. Dixieland came into swing. Swing came into bebop. Bebop came into fusion of the 60s and 70s. That turned into smooth jazz. So as you can see, music over the ages just gets simpler for the masses so people can digest it. But when you are working with people, what's the bring them to you thing? How do people find you and say, this is the guy that can help me? And I know that it's not just people who are having traumatic experiences of your nature. It could be just like, I'm having seasonal depression and my work sucks, or my wife is tripping, or my husband is tripping, I'm stressed out, or my kids are just lazy and I'm stressing out because their grades are, there's a wide variety of things. So how do people come to you or identify that, hey, this guy can help me?
Yeah. So Stages has been my business model, other people's stages, to speak on about using music for problem solving instead of entertainment. Because it's a topic everybody loves, but it's a way to use it that people have done before, because we talk about playlists, but they haven't really thought about it consciously, and they don't understand the science behind it, how legitimate it is, and what music does to the nervous system, how it resets the nervous system whenever we're stressed. So it turns off cravings, turns on creativity. And these are like, when people hear that, they're like, well, I've experienced that before, but here's a guy who's, a nerd with letters after his name, and he's telling me the stuff about the science of music. Oh, this is legit after all. And then the goal is now they'll trust and they'll lean on music even more than they already have. And they start to reach for music instead of beer, wine, or worse, Netflix, food, phone, like that.
Yeah, because recently in my own world, when COVID happened, I actually picked instruments back up.
Nice. What do you play?
It's kind of like the same as you, except I don't play the Indian flute. But
gotta try it, man. It's so relaxing.
Put it like this: I play the rhythm section. And that gives you such a. And it's the only thing I want to do. It is like once I got into it, it's the only thing I want to do. But when you are dealing with people, because this is one of the things I know, we moved into frequencies because we are resonant individuals. Humans resonate.
Yes.
When we fall in love, we go to a different resonance. When we're blue, we have a different resonance. And then there's various, I'll use this word, harmonics in between those two. So with that, do you find that sometimes it's just people vibrate with a sound like the 432 hertz or variations of that?
Yeah, my training, so there's a field called sound therapy, and then there's a field called music therapy. I'm the nerd who's in the music therapy camp and not in the sound therapy camp. Okay. And while I know there's all kinds of research and interesting things happening around 432 versus 440, I honestly don't know much about it, because my experience is harnessing this ocean of shared experience of music, which is really like the putting all of the sound together into an artistic thing. Where I can speak about sound very specifically is in relationship to tempo and the impact that tempo and rhythm has on the nervous system, on the brain, on the heart, and on the lungs. Intrastatically slows down your heart rate, your blood pressure, your respiratory rhythm. Fast tempo music automatically speeds them up. And when I used to work in the hospital, they would send me into the ICU and work with patients who were in a coma to slow down their heart rate, blood pressure, and respiratory rhythm if it was elevated, just with my classical guitar. I would just play an arpeggio matched to their heartbeat for 3 or 5 minutes, and then I'd start to slow down my guitar and their heart rate would follow. That's pretty fascinating. So what that tells you is we are rhythmic beings, and we sync to external rhythms around us. So the metaphor behind that is like, if you have people around you that are fast-paced, you will upregulate your activity to sync up and match up with them, to literally keep up with them.
Right.
And if you're around people who are chill and really relaxed, you'll notice you'll start to downregulate. You'll start to speak a little bit slower. You'll kind of check in, and just they have that effect on you. Because as humans, we automatically will upregulate or downregulate to meet each other where we're at. And we can use music to take somebody who's, really fired up, and we can walk them down very specifically with tempo.
I was listening to something, or I heard something, because I just study things. And particularly in hip-hop has changed in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Because it was dominant on the charts. And then the subgenre called trap came, which is very low BPM.
Yeah. A lot of low frequency too, just really steady.
Yeah, low frequency.
Really,
but the up layer is double time usually, or sometimes it's double time.
Right.
So if it's at 70 beats a minute, the syncopation is like 140.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, this is like the taps or the notes inside. Syncopation means, this kind of rhythmic, multi-note situation.
It's like the spice.
Yeah. So have you seen where modern music has changed our psyche? So like when somebody says, yeah, I'm stressed out, and you might say, well, what are you listening to? And you find out that's causing them stress.
That's a really good question, because people a lot of times think that it's like a chicken or the egg, like which comes first. And what the research shows is that it's actually people pick music that relates or connects with what they're already feeling, and it matches their mood. Because when you're in a good mood, you don't listen to down music. It's like, I don't want to listen to that right now. Right. And so it just doesn't match. And so what the music is, if you are around somebody and they're listening to some pretty doom music, it's a red flag actually that they are going through something that they're not talking about, and the music is meeting them and matching where they're at. And so for parents particularly, because parents always want to point the finger at music, like the music made my kid depressed. No, your kid was depressed. That's why they listen to that music. The music matches where they're at. So when you notice that someone's listening to heavy metal, angry, a lot of anger. And so there's like, oh, you've got, what's going on? What's really frustrating you right now? Because they're using that type of music to express that energy without talking about it.
Yeah.
Same. So it becomes more of like a clue into where they already are. And they're using the music usually to try to like regulate. Like, I feel this way. I need something to resonate with, as you mentioned, right? Yeah. And this resonates. This is how I feel. That's why angry chick music was like so spot on when the Lilith film came out, right? It was like all those angry chicks, they resonated with those lyrics. Like, yes. And that's why Adele's records are like off the charts, because she's talking about a broken heart. Yeah. And if yours isn't currently broken, it's been broken before. Yeah. So you can tap into that and you're like, yes, Adele, thank you. Screw that guy. I feel better already.
You made me think of something. When I'm lifting heavy weights, I will listen to like System of a Down, Avenged Sevenfold.
Yes. Crank it up.
And it is just hard, and I get through it. I just pump it up. If I'm doing cardio, though, I'm probably listening to this artist called Anomaly, who's a jazz artist, but he's an up-tempo kind of hip-hop jazz to just kind of get you in the mood. So I really identify with what you're saying. But with you, what is on your agenda now? What is your message to the world? If you and I were heading into a building, first of all, I go, dude, nice haircut. And as we head to the elevator, we find that we're both going up. I'm going to the 12th floor. You're going to the 6th floor. And I look over and go, so what's your elevator speech?
Yeah, man, I'm going to go upstairs and help a bunch of stressed out professionals learn how to increase their focus, turn off their stress, increase their creativity with music instead of with substances or devices.
Awesome.
That's what I do.
So who's your perfect client?
Perfect client is a successful professional who's dealing with what I call success stress. So success stress is they are probably in their 40 to 55. Yeah. In that range. They have been at it in the professional arena a while and are, kicking ass and taking names, but the stakes are high because they've risen to a certain level.
Yep.
So where the stakes are high. So even though they're rocking it, it's wearing on them. It's exhausting work. They love it because they've put decades into it, but it's also really taxing. At the same time, they have probably school-age kids, and they are wrestling with the fact that they find that they go home physically, but they don't go home mentally.
Yeah.
And their kids will be like, Dad, 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 Dad. It'll come like from the distance, and then they'll look up from their screen and their kid's standing over them. And they've been on their screen, sitting on the couch or in their, lazy boy. And even though their body's home, their mind's still at work. And it could be mom. In fact, probably more of my clients are professional women, and they deal with a lot of guilt around that they're not as good a mom as they want to be, or they're not as successful in their career because they've wanted to be better at home. So somewhere it's like a zero-sum game. They feel like they're losing because if they give more at work, they're giving less at home. If they give more at home, they're giving less at work. And they don't see any relief in sight. And so when they come home, they just need that mommy juice. Because that is so normalized these days, brother. It is so normalized. Dude, I was in Target,
mommy juice,
during the lockdown, getting my essentials. And on the end cap, instead of like trashy magazines, it was Sky Vodka and Cuervo in the checkout aisle at Target. And I told the guy, I was like, what? I grew up in Connecticut where they had to sell that stuff in a liquor store, and he goes, the only thing we've sold more than toilet paper
is alcohol. I believe that. But, this is a new paradigm shift, and it's going to carry forward because we don't know how to be alone. And another thing that we haven't had to deal with since, particularly in our relationships, since the early stages of it, was to be together. You can live with somebody for 50 years, but you're not with them that much time. If you go to work,
that's right.
You go to work, you're there if you have an 8-hour job, you usually get up. So that's going to be 10 hours that you're involved or directly involved with that. And then you have other little things that you have to do. So you might only really spend out of a good day 2 hours with someone.
Yeah, totally. Very small windows.
And then all of a sudden, you've got that went from, it reversed. Now you're like, move.
You're seeing a lot more of the people you live with. Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's true.
So
it's true. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. Domestic violence, it's gone up a lot since lockdown because people's relationships, if they weren't, it's like this lockdown has been like a magnifying glass on relationships. If they were problematic, they just got a lot more problematic because you literally can't escape the person. So it's like magnifying the problems at home. And then if you had solid relationships, it's great. It's like vacation. You're on vacation together, but you're working. So it's high stakes. And, everybody reaches for something when they get stressed. And this is the important thing for us to all remember is the way our brain's wired, man. When we get stressed, we issue a craving by design to soothe the stress. That is by design. And so we're dealing with unprecedented amounts of stress right now because you and I could sit here all day and pretend we know what is going to go down in August or September. We don't have a clue.
Nope.
It's never been like that.
Nope.
Last summer, if we were having this conversation, we could predict what August was going to look like based on the August before. Like, oh yeah, better be back from vacation because the school machine starts cranking up right at the first week. And here we go, right? And September is going to be predictable, right? In so many ways, professionally and around school and around home. But now, dude, it's a void. And humans are used to organizing their magic we can envision. But right now, that's kind of been taken away in a way. And that's messing with people. So they're reaching for stuff more than ever.
We had some bandwidth issues. Yeah. Why is my internet unstable? It's weird. My son's not here. But carrying on, everything's back to normal now. How can people find you?
TimRinggold.com is the place to find me. You'll see my bald head. It'll say reach for music. And then I ask you a question on the website, which just says, would you like to take a relaxation vacation?
I saw that.
And your answer would be, why, yes, I would, Tim, because I can't take any other kind of I can't take any other kind of vacation right now. Thank you. So you just put your name and your email address in on the site, and then I send you my own custom relaxation experience that I've used for the last 12 years with thousands of patients and clients, where I just walk you out of the stress of the present, and those emotions back into the present so you can be at your best to deal with the struggles you're facing right now.
Awesome. Awesome, 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 awesome. Well, Tim, I want to thank you for being on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. Sincerely.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember this. We are all billionaires. We are all billionaires. And what I mean by that is we are always taking care of the self. The self is just a repaired word which is derived from the cell. So our psyche is slave to these billions of cells that are coursing through the body. When we get hungry, that means our cells are hungry. So I'm going to put it to you like this. And you're probably like, Emmett, what are you talking about? So when your mother and father got together, he had a cell, she had a cell, they came together. The cosmic blessing happened with that dance. 2 became 4, 4 became 8, 8 became 16. For 30 days, we're just going to talk about for 30 days. Now, at the 30-day mark, you are over 1 billion cells and you haven't hit the planet yet. So you are a billionaire. Everything is fractal. You look at the whole, and as you get deeper and deeper, they all start to look the same, just like mirror images of us. So if you look at us from way out, we look like these little dots. And if you get in deep in us, we look like these little dots. So don't take it so seriously, but it all starts with love. Don't look for love on the outside. The love has to start from within. If you love yourself, and I don't mean that arrogant, I'm the man, I'm the woman kind of love, but just really appreciate the God body that you were given, that will radiate out. Remember, we all vibrate. And what's going to happen is you're going to find an equal vibration or vibrations, and that is the love that is emanating from you will come back. Till next time, love you all. Peace.